Hello everyone, this is Michael Madden. I'm broadcasting live from Remax Unlimited Real Estate over in Whitehall, Pennsylvania, United States. I'm sitting here with a friend of mine, Ronee, Welch. She's actually a sleep expert. The reason why I asked her to come in today and kind of do like a little mini interview is there are a lot of people out there that hire the wrong real estate agents and their house sits out on the market for time and time and time and they can't get it sold. So if you're one of those people out there that can't get your house sold because you hired the wrong real estate agent, she's going to give you some techniques, hopefully, that will kind of settle that down so you can make a proper phone call to me at 484-553-6992 so we can get your house sold very quickly for the best possible price out there. So, that being said, Ronee, why don't you kind of introduce yourself and what you do and how you kind of got started in the business?
Sure. So my name is Ronee Welch and I'm the owner of Sleeptastic Solutions. I am an adult sleep coach. I work with parents also for young children who aren't sleeping well. So basically anybody who's not sleeping good, whether it's because of your kiddos or because of your own issues or lifestyle, then I can help you to figure those things out without the use of medication. So it's more of a holistic look at things. I also am an instructor for infant massage as well as Lactation, for a CLC, for a certified lactation counselor, and I teach Love and Logic parenting classes locally here in the Lehigh Valley. So a lot of different things, but all those things kind of circle around sleep and can help us when we better understand them. So I kind of got started back when my kids were little. I have 4 children, and first one was a perfect sleeper. Never thought sleep was going to be an issue until I had my twins. So after that, they showed me that maybe that was not going to be quite as easy as the first one. So I had to figure out some sleep training and make that work, and it was really difficult. And it wasn't, one twin was really great, so she was like perfect, read a book, followed it, she worked great. The other twin said, I don't think so, that's not working for me, and it was a struggle. So I'd always remembered that feeling of not having anyone to talk to, not having anyone to just kind of have some feedback to say, yes, you're doing the right thing, or no, you're not. So that always resonated with me too. I wish I had that. And so now, years later, I can do that for other people. And so I started in the children sector and then quickly went to when I had parents or other adults say, well, that's great for kids. What about me? So now I help adults as well.
No, I just think it's great because, with the Lehigh Valley Elite Network, for those who don't know what that is that was a local organization I had started about 5 years ago. And I come across quite a few people that actually took their passion and turned it into a business model, and that's very rare that anybody finds success from that. That is a very challenging thing to do. I think your success rate is less than 5% of the people out there that try or attempt to try something like that ever have any success with that, and you're one of the people, rare, that I know that actually followed through and turned it into a business model that's working for you. The other thing is I think there's a lot of people too that go from being an employee of a company and having a nice steady career to having an unpredictable income, either going into sales or starting a business, and I think that can be very stressful, and learning how to deal with the stress so they can actually have sleep is a big deal. So if you can kind of touch upon maybe even 1 or 2 tips that you can give somebody that can't, they're clicking on the clicker at 2 o'clock in the morning, they can't figure out how to go to sleep.
Right.
What's a helpful, useful tip to kind of get them through that moment?
Sure. Well, the first thing is to turn off the clicker. Anytime we look at electronics, it's going to tell our brain not to produce melatonin. Melatonin is our natural sleep hormone, and so our bodies, all on their own, know when to tell us we're tired, and that when we have darkness outside, it tells our brain to produce that. The melatonin helps us to feel sleepy. But if you're looking at a screen, whether it's a TV screen or your laptop, your iPad, your cell phone, gaming, anything to do with electronics, there's a blue light back there. And so that light prohibits us from getting that melatonin production we need. So it basically tells our brain, shut that off, you're not needed anymore, it must be daytime. And so it's going to make it that much harder to fall asleep. It's not, most people can't just fall asleep by the TV. Some can, and that's great if you can, but for a lot of people you can't. And so that's the first thing, is to shut those electronics off at least 30 minutes before bed, even up to like an hour before. So just before you start your bedtime, nighttime, routine or process, you're going to want to turn all that stuff off and be done.
Well, here's something too that my son struggles with. Like, the kids will be off of school. Like tomorrow we
Yes.
get this big snowstorm, they're gonna be up all night till 2 in the morning doing their Minecraft or whatever they do. And then all of a sudden their sleep pattern is interrupted. They're used to going to bed at 10 o'clock, and then all of a sudden, because it's gonna be a snow day for the next couple of days, they're up to 1 in the morning. How should I think of that as a parent to keep my child in sync with how their body works and how their, sleep study, how their sleep pattern works?
And this is true actually for teens and for adults, because adults will do the same thing.
Right.
It's Friday, it's Saturday, I'm gonna stay up instead of 10, I'm gonna stay up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm gonna go out, and then I'm gonna sleep in the morning, which is great. And it will work well for Friday and Saturday. You stay up late Friday, you wake up early, later Saturday, and you do the same thing for Saturday to Sunday. But then what happens Sunday? Well, I didn't get up now till 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. I can't then go to sleep at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
I'm not ready to go to sleep. You have to be awake long enough to want to go back to sleep. So then you have a struggle. You can't sleep Sunday night. You toss and turn, or you just can't fall asleep. And then by the time you fall asleep, you have to get up early for school or work. And Monday mornings are that much harder, right? And so it happens with teens, it happens with adults, and it's important to really, if you can, to keep your schedule somewhat the same no matter what day of the week it is.
Right.
So, why do you have to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning? Is it really that important? Or can you just do those things that you were doing from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.? If you're just gonna play games, well then do it in the morning when you wake up. You've not messed up your circadian rhythm, or your biological clock stays the same. And you can still do those same activities, you can just do them at 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning instead of sleeping at those hours. So then that way Monday morning is not such a big deal. So if you can stay within like a half an hour of your normal bedtime, your body will thank you, because otherwise it's like you're traveling, like you have jet lag, right? Every weekend you're flying across country because you now have a 3-hour deficit of, you're going to bed so much later, and your body is so thrown off so much more because of it. So you're really fighting yourself and making things a lot harder on yourself by doing that.
And then, is there a rule of thumb as to how much sleep someone should get, or is that just your body? Like, sometimes I sleep 4 hours, and that's pretty much all I need.
Well,
is that unhealthy or not healthy? I don't know. I mean,
anything under 6 hours, and you're really kind of playing with fire here, because you have more chance of some medical issues and physical ailments and things to come into picture, and it's not healthy. So over 6 at least, but most people are going to tell you they don't feel that great, and then you don't even remember what it feels like to sleep that well until it happens again, right? And you're like, oh wow, that felt really great.
Right.
I actually had 6, 7, 8 hours, and that hasn't happened in a long time. I thought I was doing great with 4, but maybe I really do need a little more. So ideally for adults, you're looking at somewhere between 7.5 and 8.5 hours. At minimum 7, but it depends. How do you feel when you wake up? Right, that's the question. Do I feel my best? How am I operating all day? Do I feel really sleepy come 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon where I could just pass out and take a nap? Or do I feel really good? Do I have brain fog? Do I feel like I'm concentrating, and or am I clumsy and forgetful, and am I getting sick a lot? Things like that tell you that you're not probably where you need to be. If you're not feeling well, go to bed. It's the best medicine you can have, right? Go to bed early. That'll definitely.
How do you feel about like power naps? Is that
it's not that bad if you don't want to do like a 3-hour nap in the middle of the day to make up for nights, because that's just going to throw you off, and you're going to be right back in the same boat the next night.
Right.
But if you have a 20-minute nap in the middle of the day, if you can afford to do that, it can be great. It does affect you though a little bit. Like, you might notice that you aren't quite as tired come nighttime. So I know that if I do that, it's the same thing that happens too. It's like, oh well, now I'm not maybe tired at 10:30. I'm still trucking along at 11 or 11:30, which isn't so bad if you don't have to get up early. But if you have young children, or if you go to work, well, then you may not be able to do that. So you have to kind of see what it does to you, and don't do it too late in the day. You definitely don't want to be napping after 3 o'clock in the day. So
awesome. And then we're recording this. If you could explain about the technology you use to distribute your information to folks all around the world.
Yeah, so
what we're doing right now.
Right, and the great thing about being a sleep coach is that I can do this from anywhere. I have clients all over the United States, all over other countries as well. We use online technology. You can do video conferencing to just connect, phone calls, whatever it takes, and use of online programs where we can kind of work together to see the same documents and things. So it's really great for anybody who really does a coaching job like this, that you can work with clients anywhere and not just right here. So anyone can get help.
And is your process a step by step, like with a beginning or end, Or is it something that they have to be, check in every couple of months to keep on track and make sure that whatever they're doing? Because I know being a coach, whether it be for financial or any kind of coach that's out there, it's a continuing, ongoing basis that you have to keep in touch with people. Do you feel that's the same way with sleeping? Or did they reach a point where they're like, hey, I get it, now I can do it on my own and I'm
Yeah,
trained?
I mean, that's the goal, is to teach people ways that they can do things on their own. It depends on the client. Certainly, did you want to get that?
Yes, give me 1 second.
This is what happens when you go live, right?
Yes, go ahead.
So, no, when you, depending, if I'm working with a parent, it's a 2 or 3 week program to work with their child, and then we're done, we're good. Not to say that there's never any sleep issues again, because certainly things come up, but I do keep in contact and I write blogs and have helpful newsletters and things that come up to try to help parents further on down the road. I do have a membership program too, so monthly parents can be kind of a part of that. So when things do pop up, they can get some help if they need be. Now, for adults, it's kind of the same thing. The weeks that we work together, it's a process to kind of figure out what's going on in your life, because when someone says I don't sleep well, that to me is that means something else is going on. Not sleeping well is often a symptom of other things happening in your life. Maybe
Right.
it's medications you're taking, medical illnesses you have, your nutrition's off, your exercise is off, you have a ton of stress, right? And there's all these things that can affect our sleep, and then vice versa, our sleep then affects all those other things, right? We don't sleep well, we don't
Right.
eat well, we don't exercise. So it's this really vicious kind of cycle, and so we work to look at the whole lifestyle, not just fix my sleep, right? Because it's not really just about that. Why are you waking up in the first place? Why can't you fall asleep?
Right.
So these are normal things we should all as humans be able to do. There's something there that's prohibiting that, and so my job is to figure that out. And so I work with my clients to figure those things out. I look at a really detailed kind of questionnaire and look at their life and lifestyle, and then we make small changes here and there over several weeks, and we tweak things, and I give a lot of education around those things so that you can know what to do going forward and be able to continue on.
So the first, I guess, step in the process is there's an assessment they take.
Yeah,
They
I
kinda-
always
it's
ask people to schedule a 15-minute call with me. It's free. It's the best thing. It gives you a chance to get to know me and for me to know you, to make sure that we're going to be a good fit and this is what you need. I'm certainly not going to take on a client who I don't think, we're going to, that if I can't help you, I'm certainly going to tell you that. So, but if there's no reason, even if you have a medical condition, say you have sleep apnea, people think, well, if I get a CPAP machine, that's going to fix everything. And it may, and it may not. If you have other things going on in your life too, that was just a small piece of it, well then there's still other things you can be working on. Most of us have some stuff that we could be doing a little bit different and a little bit better. So that first assessment call will help us to both decide, whether it's an adult client or a parent looking for their child. I always want to talk to you kind of first.
And then have you felt some people that are just uncomfortable? They're just not going to listen and take your advice and...
Very rarely. Most times when people contact me, they've tried things, and you're at that point where you're ready to make some changes, whether it be for your child or for yourself or someone in your family. So most times, if you're going to put an investment of time and money into it and go that distance, then you're more willing to stick with it. You're more willing to kind of hear me out. I will definitely work with people. It's not just what I say goes. It's got to be a two-way street. You have to be comfortable with things, and if you're not, there's always other things that we can try. So I really try to take people's, what their comfortability level is into
Right.
consideration, and whether you're a parent and you're attachment parent, and you're afraid of any kind of crime. Okay, we can work with that. There are many different modalities and ways of which to do sleep training or reteaching of sleep, just like there is for adults. If you don't like a method that I've mentioned to you, then you don't think that's going to work for you, that's fine. There's other things we can try too, and so I will figure out what works for you and what to do.
So let's say I'm a parent, which I am, and my son is having erratic, like I was saying, it's going to be a snow day tomorrow, he's up till 1 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden his sleep pattern's off. Who would you coach at that point? Are you coaching me on how to coach him, or are you trying to work directly with the teenager?
So if I have, when I work with teenagers or even just kids who are, upper, like middle school or, that kind of age group, it's definitely a combination of both, because mom and dad have to hear that. Because if I tell you only that he should go to bed earlier, well then it's just you telling him and he's like, I don't need to listen to you, right?
Right.
Or if I tell just him and not you, well then who's gonna reinforce it?
Right.
Because if you're giving it, to a teenager, he's probably not gonna do much with it. So it has to be together, and it usually helps to have that third party, somebody else coming in, and it's not just me telling you as a parent, it's, or it's not just me as a kid trying to get my parent to understand. So you've got this outside force coming in, and we will work together, the three of us, and we'll often be on joint phone calls and things like that, so that everybody's on the same page and we can all hear that and be accountable. So
Right.
it helps everybody to be, in that case, so.
And then how do you measure results? How would you say you approach that?
So for a teenager or adults, everybody I work with, I ask them to log the information. So for little kids, it's a little bit different, and the logs might look a little different. Mostly wanting to understand what sleep is happening when and how's that going, because that is the way your child tells me if something's working or not. So a baby who's not old enough to talk can't tell you that, hey, you know what, I'm just not ready to sleep yet, or this is wrong, or but what I see written, when I have parents log and keep information, that tells me a whole lot. So then I can understand that, decipher that, and talk to the parents about that, and maybe tweak a plan based on that. So when it comes to teenagers or adults, I also have similar logs, but you're not sleeping as much as a child would be. So those logs look a little different. I'm asking you to fill out your entire daily log. I want to know what you had for breakfast, what you had for lunch, what snacks you had, what you drank. Did you exercise? I'm asking you a whole slew of things, and all that stuff tells me some things, and so that's how I can gauge what's working, what's not. We talk through things, and certainly how you feel. You would tell me how you're
Right.
feeling, and so it's a combination of those two things.
And are there really day people and night people? Or is that a myth?
Well, I think it's certainly our biological clocks or circadian rhythms. They're set based on what we're currently doing. So yeah, you can be, I was not always a night owl, but I kind of became one as time went on. And so, and really what that meant was I just kept going to bed a little bit later, a little bit later, a little bit later. And now all of a sudden, that's where I've kind of stuck. You can certainly backpedal that if you start going, okay, I'm gonna go to bed a little earlier, or if all of a sudden you got a new job and you have to get up early, well, guess what? You're no longer a night owl. You're
Right.
gonna be an early person whether you want to or not. You can fight that and go to bed late, or you can accept that and go to bed a little earlier and feel better all day long, right? So
Right.
we can change that. It's just a matter of if we want to.
Now, how about people, like one of my clients is a nurse, and she kind of has a erratic schedule. Like
Yes,
she'll have,
shift work.
Yeah. How do people deal with that, or what's an effective way of dealing with that? Or can you deal with that?
It
Or you
is
just gotta
tough.
suffer through it?
Yeah, it is tough when you have a schedule that's gonna be off. 1 week your nights, next week your days, or middle shift or something like that. It really is hard, and you've got to, because you're asking your body to do a lot every week. But there certainly kind of goes back to, are we eating the right things? Are we doing the right things to promote sleep, so that when it is time to go to sleep, that you can get it? Because that's often the problem. It's like when it is time to go to sleep, I can't shut down. I can't shut my brain off.
Right.
It's daytime. I can't go to sleep, so you want to make sure that room is super dark. You have to make it look like it's the middle of the night. That room can't just be, well, I have curtains and I shut the curtains. No, you might need some blankets up there. You might need a whole bunch of stuff up there to really trick your mind into thinking it's nighttime, right? So that's going to help. 30 minutes spending in that as like a bedtime routine. It might be 11 o'clock in the morning, but you're going to go in there, you're going to have some low lights and maybe read a book. You're going to do the same kind of like bedtime routine you would do as if it were 11 o'clock at night. So you're going to have to kind of trick your body into wanting to go to sleep at those times and making it conducive to go to sleep. Maybe you need a noise machine because it's loud. It's daytime, right? Not everybody's quiet. So you might need a noise machine. You might need some earplugs if you really want to add to it. You might need an eye mask so you can not see anything and really be pitch black. So there's things that you can kind of do to help that along so that you can retrain. Certainly if you're constantly at a night shift or constantly at a middle shift, that's a little easier because you can just retrain your body over time to accept those.
Right.
It gets tricky when it's swing shifts. Those are really difficult.
And then how do you deal with it if it's a side effect of a medication that you just got prescribed? Which I imagine happens a lot.
It does. Medications are something that I will always ask people what they're on. It doesn't mean you're going to change your medication. It doesn't mean you're going to drop it. I would never suggest that. It does mean it's important for you to realize it, right? Like, this is where it's coming from. My insomnia is not being helped because I have this medication. So you can always talk to your doctor. There might be something else worthwhile taking that's similar, that doesn't have such bad effects. That's a big time. Timing of it too, you can talk to your doctor, does it matter what time I take this? Maybe you can take it in the morning versus at night. That might help if it has a stimulant in it or something that's gonna keep you awake. But it's definitely a topic that I suggest anybody that if you're taking anything, you'd be surprised at what kind of side effects things have. In fact, I've seen medication for insomnia have side effects of insomnia, like you can't sleep. So it's like, well, makes no sense, right? Like, why are we even taking this then if it's a chance that it's gonna keep me up? So, it's worth a while to have that conversation. I do a little research and I would talk to your doctor if it's something that you feel, maybe it can be changed or, something like that, so.
Good. And then if you could just touch upon briefly about how you work with kids and some of your benefits to people, because if the kid's not sleeping, the parent's not sleeping.
Yes, right.
So that, how do you deal with that scenario? Like, we just had a conversation with our office manager, Kate, Pam, upstairs, and you guys were just like, it was like two moms, like, no one understanding, like, you were speaking that language that only moms can speak.
Yeah.
So
you're, as a parent, you're only gonna sleep as well as your child sleeps, right? I mean, that's just how it goes. Or you're only gonna sleep as well as your worst sleeper sleeps, right? And so you could have 5 kids, and if 4 sleep great, well, that's great, but if the 5th one doesn't, you're still not sleeping, right? So it's important that everybody in the family sleeps, and so when I work with parents for children of all ages, it's important to understand the family dynamic, of course, what is the parent kind of looking for, sorry. So it's important just to see what is the parent looking for? What is your parenting style? What are you comfortable with? Because some parents are more comfortable with a little bit more crying than others might say, no, I can't have any crying. What does that mean? What is okay for crying? I'm actually certified in infant and child mental health because it is important to me to understand what does crying do? What do those cortisol levels mean? Toxic stress versus tolerable or positive stress. There's different kinds of stress out there. Not all crying is bad. So I will work to educate parents often. I spend a lot of time educating because it is so important for a parent to understand what we're doing and why. Why is my child waking up at these times? You say he's not hungry. Maybe he's 10 months old and he's still feeding several times a night. Well, if he's not hungry, then why else is he getting up? Why is he doing it? So I explain all those things because mostly it's a habit, right? If every night you woke up at that time, your body gets used to those times. So it's just, when you think of sleep training, it's not as scary as it sounds. It's just really reteaching, right? So for the past, let's say if it's a 10-month-old, for the past 10 months, you've taught this child that you need me to fall asleep. You need me to nurse you to sleep or pat you or do something. And now we're asking him to just go to sleep. Well, what does that mean? Right? I have no idea, Mom and Dad. What do you mean lay down and go to sleep? So there is some teaching there that has to happen. And so I will coach parents through that and that we can have conversations even with our babies because they're humans and they understand a lot. Don't ever underestimate how much a baby can understand. So we talk a lot about how to talk to your baby, what to do, what to show him, how to make those changes, how to carefully night wean, if you're a breastfeeding mom who's doing it a lot at night, well, to just cold turkey it, even though if your child can handle it, if they're old enough, doesn't maybe mean that's the best thing for mom physically and isn't the best for baby. So we will work together, or if it's a toddler who won't stay, a preschooler who's in his bed and now doesn't want to stay in his bed, right? He was a good sleeper, I moved him to his bed, now he won't stay there. Well, that's a lot of negotiation. So that too goes back to, it's a behavior, it goes back to kind of how we parent, and it's a lot of coaching for me to parents to help them help their little one want to stay in their bed, which is a whole other can of worms, right? It's a lot easier when they're in a crib. In a bed, they have a lot of control, and so we have to kind of do some things a little differently for that, which, parenting in general, it's tough, and so that's one of the reasons that I have started going to teach these Love and Logic classes in the spring here, because they're a 5-week series of classes. It'll be 10 weeks of parenting, and it's for like babies 6 months, if you have a child 6 months to 6 years. This is the age group. You might think baby, why would you want to, what could you possibly need to do for a baby? But this is the time, one of the first words they learn is no, right? Because we're constantly saying no. So it's, how do I get around doing that? How can I do some positive parenting and not have to get into those bedtime battles, middle of the store tantrums? Because all those things that happen at night are often happening during the day too. So it's a big conversation a lot of times with parents on parenting and behavior in general. Because once we fix the nighttime stuff and naps, oftentimes we can help, we see a big difference in what happens during the day with kids too. So that's kind of how it works for kids.
All right, so not to make this so long that nobody will watch it, and then Ronnie's actually gonna be one of the presenters at our Buca de Beppo event, which is gonna be on February 14th, and we will be doing a Facebook Live broadcast. So she'll be doing her PowerPoint, and you'll be able to tune in and actually see, you know, some of her skill set
Get some
laid
good
out on
tips.
a
Yes.
PowerPoint. So if you can give your contact information out one last time.
Sure. So if you want to check out more information, you can go to my website, www.sleeptasticsolutions.com. My phone number is 484-951-0902. Happy to chat with you, or you can find me on Facebook.
Awesome. And my name is Michael Madden. I'm a realtor with Remax Unlimited Real Estate in Whitehall, Pennsylvania. I can be contacted at 484-553-6992 or michaelmadden@aol.com. And my website address is michaelmadden.realtor. So we're signing off for now, and happy snow day tomorrow.
Oh, hopefully.
All right, we'll see you folks. Thank you.